Welcome to Bible Study with Fred. This morning I'm going to read from Genesis 33:16 to 34:5 and talk about it. So if you want to stop the video and get your Bible out, um, hopefully you've already got it out and read along with me and pray and think about what I'm going to say and what you've read. So Esau returned that day on his way to Mount unto Seir. And Jacob journeyed to Succoth and built him a house and made booths for his cattle. Therefore, the name of the place is called Succoth. And Jacob came to Shalem, a city of Shechem, which is in the land of Canaan, when he came from Padan Aram, and pitched his tent before the city. And he bought a parcel of field where he spread his tent at the hand of the children of Hamor, Shechem's father, for 100 pieces of money. And he erected there an altar and called it Elel Ohi Israel. Jacob had no intention of following Esau to Seir. Jacob takes a right turn into Canaan, having come down from Syria, leaving Esau to return to Seir and Edom. He was probably very relieved at having escaped what he thought should be vengeful wrath on the part of Esau. Succoth, as you can see by the text with the words after the colon defining what went before it, means booths. Booths are temporary stalls, shelter for Jacob's beasts. There he purchased land from Hamor's family, which we shall soon find was a fateful act on the part of Shechem. Jacob builds an altar, names the altar Elelohi Israel, which Strong said means the mighty God of Israel. I suspect Jacob was very thankful that he did not receive what he thought could be coming to him. And Genesis 34:1 and begins, and Dinah, the daughter of Leah, when she bare unto Jacob, went out to see the daughters of the land. And when Shechem, the son of Hamor the Hivite, prince of the country, saw her, he took her and lay with her and defiled her. And his soul clave unto Dinah, the daughter of Jacob, and he loved the damsel and spake kindly unto the damsel. And Shechem spake unto his father Hamor, saying, Get me this damsel to wife. And Jacob heard that he had defiled Dinah, his daughter. Now his sons were with his cattle in the field, and Jacob held his peace until they were come. What happens next is not Dinah's fault any more than your car being stolen from its parking space because you left it unlocked is your fault. Excuse me. Sin is the fault of the person who commits the sin. The offenses come through the thief. However, living carelessly has its punishments. Here we learn something about what Paul speaks of in Titus 2:5, a woman being discreet and keeping at home. Dinah was rather unlike her male ancestors, who acted quite cautiously and were very worried about even the possible intentions of those around them. She ventured out naively to see the daughters of the land and was raped by Shechem, the son of that territory's ruler. Notice the phrasing, saw her, he took her, and lay with her and defiled her. There is no hint here of a consensual act. First, prince means a ruler and a judge. Notice the synonyms joined by and in the following verses. Is Exodus 2:14, and he said, Who made thee a prince and a judge over us? Acts 7:35, the Moses whom they refused, saying, Who made thee a ruler and a judge? The same did God send to be a ruler and a deliverer by the hand of the angel which appeared to him in the bush. The words king and prince denote ruler and final authority and judgment over a people, a chieftain by today's standards in more primitive cultures. Proverbs 14:28. In the multitude of people is the king's honor, but in the want of people is the destruction of the prince. Dinah, apparently being without any strong protection, was obviously raped. Remember that Abraham and Isaac both had a fear that the ruler of the land in which they sought a place to live temporarily would kill them so that live temporarily would kill them so the ruler could easily take their wives. God did not prevent this from happening as he did prevent the woman's defilement in those former cases, the women's defilement. Apparently, the ancient world in this area was a very dangerous place for women who did not have the men of their family to protect them, as much of it is today in the Middle East. God will eventually give a law that protects women in these circumstances, but in their relation to the group, the Hebrews. But when we get to the law given to Moses, we must understand that those laws are the civil and religious ordinances for the Hebrew people, separating them from the people around them. And do not go far enough for the Christian, as Christ and Paul lay out the spirit of those laws rather than the carnal letter which dealt with the flesh itself. The law given to Moses was more about the integrity and character of the group than the character and integrity of the individual, as God was separating a people of a particular ethnicity unto him rather than a person who had no abiding on earth necessarily. Sorry about that. Shechem's heart was smitten by Dinah, though, and he felt tenderness toward her after his violence rather than the contempt, for instance, that Amnon felt for Tamar in 2 Samuel 13 after he raped her. He petitioned his father to ask for her in marriage. Jacob knew what had happened, but in his position of being a guest, a stranger in their land, exercised restraint, waiting for his sons to come in from the field. His position was not good. The rape of Dinah will be felt as a wrong committed against the family, the group, more importantly than against Dinah as an individual. This is clearly a different sort of attitude than the Christian feels, as all sin is against God and against a person, and government is established to punish those who do evil. In fact, if you read Romans 13, it is one of the only justifications for human government. Dinah may have had the opportunity to visit the daughters of the land. She may have even had the right to do so, but it was not a very smart thing to do, not thinking through the situation without protection. She's not to blame here for the crime, as you own your sin, but she was not wise. Still, God allowed this to happen to set in motion something revealing to us. I remember in college when there was a campus rapist in operation, many of the young men trying to convince the young women that although they had the right to go on their own across campus at night to the library, it was not smart to do so without an escort. This, of course, offended the modern feminist whose rights the rapist predator could not have cared about in the least. It is a callous error, though, of modern fundamentalism to insist that men cannot control themselves and that if a man acts wrongly out of lust, it is a woman's fault. As I said earlier, regardless of how you want to cut it, you own your sin. Don't put it off on the employer who leaves money to tempt you, the girl who passes by you wearing too revealing clothing, or the person who runs into a store leaving the keys in his car. Take responsibility. Child molesters will even blame a child for enticing them. This is a wicked thought pattern, of course. We will learn here another principle of the Bible. One crime does not blot out another. God allowed this to happen to reveal something, to show us the character and nature of the patriarchs of the Hebrew people. In this, they are going to be shown as very much like the people around them, from whom God is drawing them out. Paul writes in Romans 15 that these things were written about for our learning. So learn. And we're going to continue this story with the consequences next time.